Hello, good morning students. Welcome back to NEET Due JN classes. And today's lecture we are going to discuss about the earthworm, the concept, one of the important concept in both CET and as well as the NEET aspects. In NEET there is a chance to ask the question from this earthworm or not, but definitely in case of KSET, in case of MSET, such kind of definitely there is a chance. But in NEET it's a very rare concept. So anyways, in textbook, NCERT textbook it is there. So we have to discuss about that. So today we are going to discuss about the earthworm, the worm that is present inside of the earth. First of all, the worm that is present inside of the earth, because of that only it is called earthworm. Yes, means which includes that it is present inside of the soil, which says that earth means which includes that the worm is present inside of the soil, because of that only it is called earthworm. The basic knowledge about this earthworm is the earthworm belongs to the invertebrate phylum. It's not a vertebrate, it is a invertebrate, means nothing but non-chordate. It is a invertebrate, means it doesn't have the vertebral column. Yeah, we have the vertebral column, but earthworm not have the vertebral column. So you know chordates and non-chordates. You know that this is not having the notochord, so it's not belongs to chordata phylum, it belongs to non-chordate phylum. The another name for non-chordate is invertebrate. In this invertebrate, it belongs to the which phylum? Means you know that it belongs to the phylum in animal kingdom we discussed. It belongs to the phylum which is known as Annelida. And the meaning of the Annelida, lida means what? Ring. Lida means ring. Ani means what? Little. Yes, little rings. The body of the earthworm is divided into number of segments, and those segments are appearing like small rings. Because of that only earthworm belongs to the phylum which is known as Annelida. Okay, fine. And now these earthworms generally these earthworms are present inside of the their habitat. The habitat of the earthworm is, some are present inside of the water, so aquatic, and some are present on the land, so those we call them as a terrestrial. Land living earthworm we call them as a terrestrial, and water living earthworm we call them as aquatic. And whenever they are present in the terrestrial, they are present in the moist surface of the soil. What is the meaning of moist? The moist means the soil which have the water content. Yeah, the water content means, for example, soil is present, the soil contain a moist content. At that time this earthworm makes a one burrow. It will dig a small burrow, it will dig. And for example, so this is the soil, upper layer of the soil. Like this, there is a presence of upper layer of soil. All this is the upper layer of the soil, and gradually this is lower in this manner. Now the earthworm is present here. Yes, like this the earthworm is present. Let me represent with another color. Now this is the earthworm that is present on the surface of the soil, moist surface of the soil, and it will starts the digging the soil. It will dig the soil. Sir, with what it will dig? Like this it is making the digging. Like this it will dig, and after digging, this we call them as burrow. Borrows. It will make the burrows, and after making the burrows, the earthworm is entering into this burrow and present. Like this, the earthworm is present inside of this burrow. And after presenting inside of this burrow, the earthworm starts eating the soil, swallowing the soil. Why? Because the food material for earthworm is a soil only. The soil is also called here humus. Soil is also called humus. Why the soil is also called humus? Because soil contains one chemical. That chemical we call it as humic acid. The soil is also called humus. Why the soil is also called humus? Means the soil contains a chemical which is known as a humic acid, because the another name for soil is humus. So during the daytime, not in the night time, during the daytime, the earthworm burrows inside of the soil in the upper layer of the soil, and it's what it is doing means it is swallowing the soil, which is also called humus, because of presence of the respective acid. And you remember here, these earthworms are present inside of the soil. Okay sir, fine. How can we trace whether there is a one soil is there or in a garden is there? In that garden, whether earthworms are present or absent, how can we identify? How can we identify whether the earthworm is present? Means it can be identified by finding out or tracing out the earthworm's fecal matter or fecal matter. Fecal matter or fecal matter means it's waste product. It's dung, we can say. In the garden, if the fecal matter of the earthworm is present, that indicate that in soil fecal matter is present means earthworms are there. If earthworms are absent, there is no fecal matter in the soil. So if fecal matter is present at that time, that indicating that this is the earthworm's waste material. The earthworm waste material is present in the soil, that is saying that the earthworms are present here. Finding out the fecal matters in the garden or in the soil to identify whether earthworms are present or absent, that is called worm casting. Worm casting. Casting means finding. Casting means finding. Finding the whom? We are finding the worm. Which worm? Earthworms. The casting, worm casting. What is a worm casting means? Tracing the fecal matter or finding out the fecal matter of the earthworm. If fecal matter is present in the soil, earthworms are present. If it is absent, earthworms are absent. So tracing out the fecal matter of the earthworm is called worm casting. Worm casting is different and vermicomposting is different. Both are two different words. Worm casting means tracing out the fecal matter in the soil to identify whether earthworms are present or absent. And it will be present in the upper layer of the soil during daytime, and it will burrow in the moist surface and it starts swallowing the soil. Yes, fine. And now the most common earthworms in our India is, number one is peritima. Peritima, that we discussed about the peritima in the earthworm, in the Annelida concept we discussed. The Indian earthworm name is peritima, and another one is lubricus. Lubricus, these are the earthworm names, Indian earthworm names. In this manner there are the foreign earthworms also which are having the different names, but in your textbook they are not given. They given only the two earthworm names which belongs to the India. Number one is the peritima, as of we discussed in the phylum Annelida 2, and as well as the another one is the lubricus. These are the two Indian earthworms. These two are very, very important, peritima and lubricus. And we are going to discuss about the peritima, not about the lubricus. In the concept we are going to discuss about the peritima. This is the basic part that you are to know. Earthworm which belongs to invertebrate and which belongs to the phylum Annelida. Aquatic or terrestrial? Terrestrial means present on the moist soil during daytime, making the burrows and entered into the soil and eating the soil. Entered into the burrow and eating the soil. And worm casting. What is worm casting means? Tracing out the fecal matter of the earthworm to find out whether earthworms are present in the present or absent in the garden. And two common Indian earthworms are, number one is peritima and number two is lubricus. Okay, fine. Now come to the morphology of the earthworm. Come to the morphology of the earthworm. Yes, morphology. What is the meaning of morpho? Morpho means external. Ology means what? Study. Studying the external structure of the organism is called morphology. In plants, you will study a morphology of flowering plants, which indicates that studying about the root of the plant, studying about the modifications of stem, modifications of leaf, means studying the external structure is called morphology. Ology means study. Morpho means external structure. External structure. Now we are going to discuss about the morphology of whose? The external structure of earthworm we are going to study. The external structure of the earthworm that we are going to study. Now we remember here, earthworm. First of all, what is the shape of the earthworm? You remember, the shape of the earthworm is like this. Means this is what shape? This is a cylindrical shape. Cylindrical shape. The earthworm shape is cylindrical, like this marker it will be present. Yes, no? And the body of the earthworm is divided into number of segments. Segments are also called metamer. Segments are also called metamer. And the showing of metamers, this phenomenon is called metamerism. Metamerism. So metamers, the peritima contains minimum 100 segments and a maximum 120 segments it will be present, the body. The peritima body is divided into number of segments. Segments are also called metamers. How many number of metamers? Minimum one earthworm contain minimum 100 and maximum 120 segments will be present. What is the shape of the earthworm? The shape of the earthworm is cylindrical shape. Yeah, fine. Now in this earthworm body, how to identify what is the dorsal surface of the earthworm and what is ventral surface of the earthworm? This is the most confusion part. How to identify the dorsal surface and ventral surface? For example, I am the human being. We are all are human beings. This is our ventral surface. How can we identify our ventral surface? Eyes will be present. In the ventral surface, eyes will be present, nose will be present, mouth will be present, and etc. Heart is present in the ventral surface, lungs are present in the ventral surface. And if you go for the dorsal surface, how can you identify the dorsal surface of the human being? We can identify the dorsal surface of the human being by the presence of backbone. If you are discussing about the backbone means we are studying about dorsal surface. If you are discussing about eyes means you are studying about the ventral surface. If you are studying about hands means we are discussing about lateral surface. Lateral surface. So this is ventral and this is dorsal and this part is lateral. Now same like that only the shape of the earthworm is a cylindrical shape. Cylindrical shape. In this what is a ventral surface and what is a dorsal surface? You just remember here, earthworm will move in this plane like this. It will move, it will contract and relax, contract and relax. You know how the earthworm will show the locomotion, contracting its body, relaxing its body. Now this is the cylindrical shape. Now the earthworm is moving in this manner. Moving in this manner means this is the anterior part and this is the posterior part. It is moving in this plane, so this is anterior, this is posterior. Anterior opening always mouth will be present, posterior opening always anus will be present. Be careful. Now be careful that this lower surface, this is called ventral surface and this is called dorsal surface. This is ventral surface and this is dorsal surface. How can we identify that is dorsal surface and this is ventral surface? Just imagine. Now this is part is the ventral part and this part is the dorsal part. Now you are seeing the dorsal part in this direction. Now this is ventral, this is dorsal. Be careful. So initially earthworm is present like this. As of I told now, this is dorsal surface and this is ventral surface. Okay, fine. Now we are making the earthworm like this. When you are making the earthworm like this, now this is the dorsal surface and this is the ventral surface. Okay, very good. And what about this? This is the lateral surface and this is the lateral surface. Four sides we got. This is dorsal, it is ventral, it is lateral. Two lateral, one dorsal, one ventral. And you remember, in this mid-dorsal, in the middle, this front surface is dorsal now. Now the middle, there is a presence of, for example, here pen, this marker, this one is present now. You imagine this now. So it is present in the middle of the dorsal. In this manner, earthworm having the mid-dorsal line. How this marker having this part? Now same like that only in the middle dorsal surface, the earthworm contains a dark line that is passing longitudinal surface. In this manner, full surface. Dorsal side, middle to the dorsal side. So I call it as mid-dorsal. Mid-dorsal, there is a presence of a dark single line that is present. That is called blood vessel. That is the blood vessel. Now the blood vessel is present at a dorsal surface or ventral surface? Dorsal surface. So it is called mid-dorsal blood vessel. So simple logic is the dorsal surface is identified by the blood vessel. A blood vessel is passing along the length of the earthworm. Dorsally, for example, the marker cap, this one is only up to here, but the blood vessel is present from anterior to up to posterior. It is present middle, lateral, middle. So in the middle, which side? Dorsal side. So mid dorsal blood vessel that is present. So in the dorsal surface, blood vessel, single or double? Single. And if you go for the ventral surface, okay, let me represent the diagram. So mid dorsal blood vessel means like this. This is the earthworm body, which is having the number of segments, minimum 100 segments and maximum 120 segments. Anterior opening is mouth and posterior opening is anus. Now if you remember this, in this plane you are seeing, this is the part you are seeing. So you are seeing the dorsal surface. When you are seeing the dorsal surface, in the mid dorsal line, there is a passage of a dark line that is passing like this along the longitudinal axis of the body. Along the longitudinal axis means entire its length. In this manner, there is a passage of a dark line. It is in the middle or in the lateral? Yes, it is in the middle. So mid. It is at the dorsal surface or ventral surface? Dorsal surface. And what it is? It is a blood vessel. So mid dorsal blood vessel. Okay, now come to the ventral surface. Still now we read about this. Now you have to turn the earthworm like this, in this manner. Now this is what surface of the earthworm? It is the ventral surface of the earthworm. Okay, fine. Ventral surface of the earthworm, how can you identify? Yes, let me make the diagram. This is the earthworm. This is earthworm. And which view of the earthworm means this is the ventral view of the earthworm. Ventral view. This is the ventral view of the earthworm, which is having the number of segments like this. This is the ventral view. This is dorsal view and this is ventral view. The ventral view is identified by the presence of a genital pores. Genital pore. Yes, genital pores. How many types of genital pores? There are two types of genital pore. Number one is female genital pore and number two is male genital pores. Male genital pores. What is the use of female genital pore? Female genital pore is responsible to release its gamete, egg, and male genital pore is responsible to release its gamete. What they are? Sperms. So pore means what? Opening. Genital means they are releasing the gametes here. Male gamete and female gamete. So total number of genital pores, how many? Total number of genital pores are 3. In these 3, how many female genital pore? 1. And how many male genital pores? 2. Yes. So total how many now? The number of genital pores are 3. Total genital pores are 3. In these 3, female genital pore is only 1. Male genital pores are 2. Means male is pair. One pair of male genital pore and one female genital pore. And where these genital pores are present? The genital pores are present in the ventral surface. So if you are able to see now you are seeing the genital pores, you can see means, okay, this is the ventral view of the earthworm. If you are seeing the dorsal blood vessel means, it is the dorsal view of the earthworm. You remember. So total number of genital pores is 3. Yeah. One more thing you remember. Where this female genital pore is present? Okay, sir, it is good. It is present in the ventral surface. That's okay, well and good. Yeah, earthworm having 100 to 120 segments, na? In which segment that genital pores are present, sir? Now the female genital pore, which is single, is present in the 14th segment of the earthworm. 14th segment. Just imagine, this is the 14th segment of the earthworm. This is 14th segment of the earthworm. Okay. Now in this 14th segment, how many female genital pore? 1. Yeah, here you go. This is the female genital pore. Yes, the female genital pore is present in the medulla laterala. Yes, it is present in middle. It is the ventral view of the earthworm or dorsal view? Ventral view. So can I call the female genital pore is present in the mid ventral surface. The female genital pore is present in the mid ventral. M means mid, V means ventral surface. Why? Because this is ventral view, na? Now come to the male genital pore. How many male genital pore? 2 male genital pore. And where these male genital pores are present? Just imagine this is the 18th segment. 18th segment. So I can't write all 100 segments, na? So just imagine 14th segment and 18th segments. That is indicating that the male genital pores are present in the 18th segment of the earthworm. 18th segment. Yes, how many number? 2 in number. So because of that only, this is the male genital pore number 1 and this is the male genital pore number 2. So where these genital pores are present? Ventral side. But these 2 genital pores are not present in the middle of the earthworm. They are present in the lateral side. Sidewise they are present. If they are present in this region, this is middle. If they are present in this manner, these 2 sides, this is lateral. Ventrolateral. They are present ventrally but not middle. They are present sidewise. So ventrolateral. In case of female genital pore, it is mid-ventral. It is mid-ventral. It is present in middle and ventral surface. In case of male genital pore, they are ventrolateral. They are present in ventral side but not in middle. They are present sidewise. So ventrolateral. So if you are able to see the genital pores, this is the ventral view. If you are able to see the dorsal vessel, a dark line, this is the dorsal view. This is the way that you have to remember first. Viewing of Earthworm dorsally and ventrally. Ventrally means genital pores you will see. Dorsally means a blood vessel you will see. A dark line which is passing longitudinal entire length of the earthworm. Okay, fine. Next. This you have to remember, genital pores total 3, female genital pore, male genital pore. Female genital pore 1, present in which segment? 14th segment. Male genital pore is 2, present in which segment? 18th segments. Okay, next. Next part. Next, still morphology you have to study. You remember, the earthworm contains a one segment like structure, but that is not a segment. But it is appearing like segment. That is called prostomium. Prostomium. It is appearing like a segment, but it is not a segment. So false segment. So it is also called pseudo segment. Pseudo segment. The name of it is prostomium. Prostomium. So okay, fine. Then it is having the first segment also, it is present now. Then what is the first segment? The first segment is called peristomium. Peristomium. You should know the difference between these two. The first segment of the earthworm is called peristomium, and it is appearing like a segment, but that is not a segment. It is called prostomium. And the last segment of the earthworm, if it is contain 100 segment, 100 segment. If it is contains 120 segment, 120th segment. So last segment of the earthworm, is called pygidium. Pygidium. First segment you have to remember the name, and the last segment you have to remember the name. The first segment of the earthworm is called peristomium, and the last segment of the earthworm is called pygidium. Then what about this prostomium, sir? Just let me make the diagram now, a small diagram of the earthworm. Small diagram. This, in this manner, there is a presence of earthworm. You are viewing in this plane. This is the body which is known as earthworm's body, and this is the posterior anus. And here we have, there is a presence of anterior opening which is known as the mouth. So earthworm is laying down like this. It is laying down. It is laying down means it is what surface? Dorsal surface. It is what surface? Ventral surface, which indicates that this is dorsal surface and it is ventral surface. Sorry, reverse I told. Sorry. It is ventral surface and it is dorsal surface. Why? Because it is moving like this, na? Like this it is moving now, so it is ventral and it is dorsal. Okay, fine. Now you remember what is happening. As of I told, this is the segment number 1. In this manner, segment number 2, 3, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and next one here you go for the last segment. The last segment is the 100 segment. 100 segment name is what? Pygidium. And the first segment name is what? Peristomium. First segment name is peristomium. Now, here there is a presence of anterior opening. What is this anterior opening? Mouth. Anterior opening is what? Mouth. And this mouth is covered. The mouth is covered by one structure like this. It is covered. Means protecting the mouth. This is not a segment but appearing like a segment. So this structure is called prostomium. You know what is the stoma stands for? Stoma means mouth. Hypostoma we discussed. Agnatostoma. Stoma means mouth. So pro means before. Stoma means mouth. Before mouth there is a segment like a structure but not a segment. That is called prostomium. And the first segment is called what? Peristomium, where mouth is present. And the last segment is called pygidium. And now this prostomium is sensory in function. It contains some sensory receptors. Tasting the soil. It is sensory in function. And next one, and it is also responsible for, it is having the wedge shape. WEDGE, wedge shape. It is having the wedge shape, and with that wedge shape only, while making the burrows, it have to dig the soil na. For that purpose it will be useful. It is having the wedge shape na. With that wedge shape it is digging the soil and making the burrows. And after making burrows, what earthworm is doing? It is crawling, and it is moving, crawling into that burrow. Crawling into that burrow. So the thing that you have to remember is prostomium is not segment, and it is responsible to cover the anterior opening mouth, and it is responsible for sensory function, tasting the soil, and it is having wedge shape, and it is responsible to make the crawl. Making the burrows means opening the cracks of the earth, and crawling, the earthworm is crawling. And the first segment name is peristomium, and the last segment name is pygidium. Okay, this is about the three segments, which is not three segments. One is prostomium, segment number one is peristomium, and segment last is the pygidium. Okay, next concept, next further. If you move into the further, now the earthworm is matured. We are talking about the mature earthworm. Sir, how can you tell whether earthworm is matured or not matured, sir? How can you identify? We can identify. We are mature means we are having the beard, and there is a development of mustache and masculine growth, etc. in case of male, and in case of female, growth of mammary glands, and as well as menstrual cycle that happens in the female body. We can say that they are mature. Then how can we tell whether earthworm is matured or not matured? Yes, we can tell. Yes, in a mature earthworm, let me make some big diagram here. So this is the earthworm body, which is divided into number of segments, like this. Number of segments are present. Segment number 1, 2, 3 in this manner. Minimum 100, maximum 120. Yeah, and here the last segment, which is known as the pygidium, anus, posterior opening is anus, and this is our first segment. This is our first segment, which is known as peristomium, and this is the anterior opening is mouth, and the mouth is covered by a wedge shaped structure, which is known as prostomium. Prostomium, in this manner. Now all these are the segments. You just remember, this is the segment number 14. Segment 14. If it is 14, it is what? 15th segment, and it is what? 16th segment, and it is what? 17th segment, and it is what? 18th segment. You forgot about that. In 18th segment, as we discussed, in the ventral side, the 18th segment contains, contains what genital pore? Male genital pores are present. 2 male genital pores on the ventral surface. And in the 14th surface, here you go. In the 14th ventral, in the middle, there is a presence of female genital pore is present. This is what we discussed initially. Sir, how to identify mature earthworm? Yes, that is what I am telling that. The mature earthworm in the segment 14, 15, 16, the segment 14, 15, 16 segment is unclosed by one glandular tissue. What is the meaning of glandular? Gland means its function is secretion. Tissue means group of cells. The 14, 15, 16 segment is unclosed by a glandular tissue like this. 3 segments. 14th segment, 15th segment and 16th segment is enclosed by a glandular tissue. This glandular tissue we call it as clitellum. That glandular tissue we call it as clitellum. The clitellum is only present in the mature earthworm. If clitellum is present, we say earthworm is mature and it is dark in color, dark brown in color. If the clitellum is present, earthworm is mature. If clitellum is absent, earthworm is immature earthworm. And clitellum is surrounding how many number of segments? 3 segments. Which segments it is covering? 14th segment, 15th segment and 16th segment, which indicate, for example, this is the earthworm body. This is the earthworm body. In this manner, earthworm body is present. Earthworm body. Now, this is the glandular structure which is covering the three segments. Now, this is the mature earthworm. Why? Because clitellum is present. Na? If clitellum is absent, it is immature. If clitellum is present, it is mature. That's all. Now, clitellum is unclosing how many segments? 3 segments. 14, 15 and 16. So, which indicate that 14th segment generally contain what? Female genital pore. Which is saying that the female genital pore is present inside of clitellum. So, we can't see the immature earthworm. In mature earthworm, we can't see the female genital pore. Why? Because it is unclosed by clitellum, a glandular tissue which is dark brown in color. Now, this is clitellum, right? So, it is clitellum means from 14th segment it is present. Then it will be what segment? 13. It is 12, 11, 10 in this manner, etc. and etc. etc. and first segment. So, 1 to 13 segments are preclitellar segments. Preclitellar segments. Preclitellar segment. What is the meaning of pre? Pre indicates before. So, before clitellum, how many segments are present? How many preclitellar segments? 13. 13. Yes. After clitellum, so you can go for the 17, 18, 19, 20, etc. etc. and 100 aithe 100, 120 aithe 120. You can take. You can take. Now let's see. All these are the segments which are present after clitellum. So these segments we call them as post-clitellar segments. Post-clitellar segments. Post-clitellar segments. A basic thing here. You are studying now pre-university. You are studying pre-university, which is indicating that based upon university, your education is divided. You are before to university now. So because of that only this is pre-university you are studying. After pre-university to where you will go? You will go to university. And after university where you will go? PG means post-graduation, post-university. So based upon university, your education is divided into 3 parts: pre-university, university, post-university. Now same like that only, based upon the clitellum, earthworm body is divisible into how many parts? Ante 3 regions. 3 regions. Preclitellum, clitellum, post-clitellum. How many preclitellar segments? 13. 1 to 13. How many clitellar segments? 3. How many clitellar segments? 3. What are those? 14, 15 and 16. Then how many post-clitellar segments? You take earthworm with 100 segments. Earthworm with 100 segment. In this 100 segment, 1 to 13 are preclitellar. Next, 14, 15, 16 are clitellar. Ante 100 minus 16. At that time 4, 9 plus 8. Remaining 84 segments. Remaining 84 segments, 100 minus 16 is 84. Remaining 84 segments are post-clitellar segments. If you take 100 as the number of segment. If you take 120 segment, add 20 for this 84. 20 add just enta avutadi 104. 104 are the post-clitellar. Means which segmented earthworm you are discussing, that is indicating. Preclitellum, clitellum, post-clitellum. How many preclitellar? 13. How many? These 3. How many these? If you take 100, 84. If you take 120, it will be 104. So now the clitellum is present means it is a mature earthworm. Based upon this clitellum only, earthworm body is divisible into 3 parts, 3 regions. That's all. Next concept. Further, next part. In this morphology only, you have to know about one name. The name is spermathecal aperture. The name is spermathecal aperture. What is the meaning of this spermathecal aperture? Aperture means a sac or opening. Spermatheca. First of all, you should know what is spermatheca. Spermatheca. Theca means sac. Inside of the sac, sperms will be stored. Theca means what? A sac. A bag is called theca. We are theca down na socket. Socket is called theca. Theca means sac. Sperm means inside of this sac, sperms will be present. Because of that only it is called spermathecae or spermatheca. What is the diagram of the spermatheca? Like this, the spermatheca will present. See how beautiful it is, spermatheca. And inside of this spermatheca, what is present? Inside of this spermatheca, there is a presence of sperm. Sperms are stored here. Like this, there is a storage of a sperm. Earthworm sperms will be present. So this is theca, sac-like structure, and it is storing the sperm. So it is spermatheca. Now this is the opening of the spermatheca. See, this opening is called spermathecal aperture. The opening is called spermathecal aperture. Okay, you understood now what is spermatheca mean, which is responsible for storing of sperm. Now earthworm contains how many pairs of spermatheca? Earthworm contains 4 pairs of spermatheca. 4 pairs means how many in number? 8. 8. Sir, where they are present, sir? They are also present in segment. Yes, you should know the numbers in which segment they are present. So 4 pairs of spermatheca are present. 4 pairs of spermatheca. Okay, sir. They are present at a ventral side or dorsal side? Ventral side they are present. Ventral side they are present. Okay, fine. Pair na. So each segment 2 will be present. So they are not in the middle. They are present lateral. Ventrolateral side. The ventrolaterally, the earthworm contain 4 pairs of spermatheca, and that spermatheca is responsible for storing of sperms. Storing of sperms. Let me make the diagram, and it will give the clear information and it will give clarity. So now let's look at the earthworm. Now look at the earthworm. So this is the earthworm body. Like this. We are representing the earthworm body. All this is the earthworm body. Let me represent somewhat big. The shape of the earthworm, you should remember, it is the cylindrical shape. Shape of the earthworm is cylindrical shape. Like this. Number of segments. Please do subscribe to the channel, and you won't miss my notification whenever I upload at the class. Just support karo yaar. Yeah, fine. In this manner, all these are the segments. All these segments. And what view is this, sir? This is the ventral view. It is a ventral view of the earthworm. Ventral view. It is anterior opening mouth, and the mouth contain a peristomium. Prostomium. A segment like structure. Now just remember here carefully. Just remember segment number 1, first segment, second segment. In this manner, you have, just imagine, this is 6th segment, 7th segment, 8th segment, and 9th segment. Segment 6, 7, 8 and 9. This is the ventral view. You are seeing in the ventral view means this. That is the ventral view means, just imagine, this is the 14th segment. But 14th segment ventral view contains what? Female genital pore, like this female genital pore. If it is a 14th segment means it is 15 and it is 16. At that time, all this mature earthworm contains a glandular tissue. What is the name of this glandular tissue? Clitellum. Everything is this clitellum. All this is the clitellum. And the clitellum is unclosing how many segments? 3 segments, which is known as a 14, 15 and a 16. If it is 16 means it is 17 and it is 18. But 18th segment contain male genital pore. 2 male ventrolaterally. Yes. Now, based upon the clitellum, preclitellum, clitellum, postclitellum. Okay. Now, studying about the spermatheca. Now, spermathecae are present in the first pair. Total how many pairs? 4 pairs. In that 4 pairs, first pair is present in the 6th segment. Yeah, like this. Like this. This is the first pair of spermatheca. First pair of spermatheca. Next one, second pair of spermatheca. First pair and second. First pair is present in 6th segment. Second pair is present in 7th segment. Yes, like this. This is the second pair of spermatheca. Second pair of spermatheca. Next one, the third pair. The third pair of spermatheca is present in which segment? Eighth segment. Yes, like this. This is the third pair of spermatheca. Third pair of spermatheca. And next one, last pair. The fourth pair of spermatheca is present in which segment? Ninth segment. Yes, like this. It is present in the ninth segment. Ninth segment. Yes, all the mature earthworm, spermatheca, clitellum is present means mature na? Yeah, mature earthworm spermatheca contains what all these? Sperms. It is storing the sperms. It is storing the sperms like this. Storing the sperms. Why? Because spermatheca means which is responsible for storage of sperms only, na? Yeah, like this sperms will be present. Yeah, so here the question is very, very complicated. Yeah, be careful. Where spermathecas are present, in which segments they are present? Sixth segment, seventh segment, eighth segment, ninth segment. Okay, well and good. But you should remember, as of I told, this is the opening of a spermatheca. Opening of spermatheca. The opening of a spermatheca is called what? Spermatical aperture. Now, if you observe clearly, this is the spermatical opening. The spermatheca which are present in sixth segment, they are opening into which segment? They are opening into fifth segment. Ante spermatheca which are present in sixth segment, they are opening into the fifth segment. Ante 5 by 6. Be careful. Be careful. This is spermatheca. Where spermatheca is present? First pair. The first pair is present in the sixth segment. Okay. It is present in sixth segment, but it is opening into which segment? Fifth segment. 5 by 6. Same. Next, second pair of spermatheca you come. Second pair of spermatheca is present in which segment? Seventh segment. Very good. But this is opening into which segment? It is opening into the sixth segment. So 6 by 7. And next, third pair. Third pair of spermatheca present in which segment? Eighth segment. Yes, eighth segment. And it is opening into which segment? Opening into the seventh segment. So 7 by 8. Last. Fourth pair of spermatheca is present in ninth segment and it is opening into eighth segment. Yes, opening into eighth segment. So, openings of spermatheca location means the spermatheca opens from 5 segment to 9th segment. 5 to 9. Which is indicating that 6th one is opening into 5th. 7th one is opening into 8th. So 6th and 8th one is opening into 7 and 9th one is opening into 8th. 6th segmental spermatheca is opening into 5th segment. 7th segmental spermatheca is opening into 6th segment. 8th segmental spermatheca is opening into 7th segment. 9th segmental spermatheca is opening into 8th segment. This is a very, very important. If the question is location of the earthworm from where to where means the answer is 6 to 9. 6 to 9. The answer is 6 to 9. Why? Because 6th segment, 7th segment, 8th segment, 9th segment spermatheca is present. Openings of spermatheca is located from where to where means the answer is 5 to 9. 5 to 9. In your textbook they given this statement. Spermathecal grooves are from 5th segment to the 9th segment, which is telling that openings they are telling. So you can write in the textbook like this: 5 by 6, 6 by 7, 7 by 8, 8 by 9. If you didn't understand, once revise that, make reverse, make backward, and once again you read how I represented that one. Yes, and you know that where spermatheca is present, ventral or dorsal? Yes, ventral view, because of that you can able to the genital pores. And they are present lateral or middle? Lateral, see, laterally they are present, not in the middle, center, interlateral. Yeah. And next one, this earthworm contains excretory structure. As of I told when I am telling about the annelida, the excretory structure in annelida is nephridia. Nephridia. The excretory structure in earthworm is nephridia. So many number of nephridiospores are present. Entire body contains so many number of nephridias will be present. Nephridiopores will be present. Later we will discuss about this nephridias very much detailedly. How many nephridias will present and from which segment to which segment they are present. Last point. The earthworm contains S-shaped structure. Earthworm contains S-shaped structure. That S-shaped structure is called setae. This is the S-shaped structure. That S-shaped structure is called setae. In the last CET they asked this question. S-shaped structure is called setae. Setae is absent in which segment? This S-shaped structure is absent in the first segment. It is not present in the first segment. And it is absent in the clitellar segments. And it is absent in the last segment. In last segment it is absent. Setae is absent in first segment. Ante number 1. Absent in the clitellar segments. How many clitellar segments? 3. Means 14, 15 and 16. And it is absent in the last segment. Ante 100 segment. So what is the structure? Yes. Setae. Shape is what? S shape. It is absent in how many segments? It is absent in 5 segments. In that 5 segment, first one is first segment. Next 3 are clitellar segments and 14, 15, 16 and last segment. In the 5 segment, setae is absent. Except in these 5, remaining all the segments, it contains the setae is present. What is the shape? S shape. Like this. Like this. Clitellar segments na absent. Setae. Last segment na absent. What is the role of this setae? The principal role of this setae is locomotion. Moving like legs it is working. According to situation, it can be moved inside of the body. Lopalki velipotadi. Extracted. And based upon the situation, it can come outside, extracted and retracted, and its principal role is locomotion, helping in locomotion. You should remember in the last CET they asked the question that setae is absent in peristomium. Peristomium means what? First segment. And setae is absent in clitellar segment. Yes, 14, 15, 16. And setae is absent in pygidium. That's all. Total 5 in 5 segments it is absent. So this is about the today's class, and next within a few hours, within a few time I will post the anatomy. All this is the morphology. You once revise and study. If you want to clear-cut information, once again you listen the class and it will give good information for you. And in the next session I will post the anatomy in body wall of the earthworm, digestive system, circulatory system, excretory system, all those. During excretory system, we will discuss about this nephridia. Thank you. Hope you understood the class. If you understand the class, please do subscribe, comment, and don't forget to like. Thank you all of you.